Well, we're here with Denis O'Hare today, and Denis, we've got one of your loyal subjects, Chris Beachum in Mississippi. Just thought I'd raise that and just get that out of the way.
Well, I think Elvis is the true king of Mississippi, not character.
I don't know about it. Elvis is dead, and I am undead, so I'd be careful if I were you.
Tell us, Denis, what is it like playing such an over-the-top character?
You know, he's a great character because, not only is he undead, so therefore he's not bounded by normal human conventions, but he's incredibly old. So he's got this amazing backstory, and whenever we were working on things, I would always try to remember, can you imagine being 2,800 years old? And can you imagine having a pagan perspective, a pre-Christian perspective? It's just a very, very different way of thinking and being. Mm. And I took my job very seriously about that. I really, really invested a lot in the character, and it wasn't all fun and games, but I had the best time working on him. Every time I got a script, I looked forward to a new aspect of his personality being revealed. Mm.
Tell us about the physical shooting of a show like this. Is it more difficult than a lot of the other projects you've been on?
It's very high quality TV, so at times it feels like you're doing a movie. Shoots can last a long time. The per episode day count is pretty high. The budgets are pretty high. They can be pretty elaborate. I mean, my very first scene, we had wolves, we had horses, we were shooting at 3 o'clock in the morning, and we had naked amputee men.
Fantastic. You really can't ask for better than that. Yeah. Well, I want to talk about a specific scene that I'm sure you get asked about all the time. And if you were to be nominated for the Emmys, I'm sure it would be probably your episode submission, but it's Everything is Broken at the end of the episode where your character gets to go on the news, rip out someone's spine, and you just get this really strong monologue.
Does that help you decide, America? Do not turn off the camera! You've seen how quickly I can kill. Ladies and gentlemen.
My name is Russell Edgington, and I have been a vampire for nearly 3,000 years.
When you got that script, what was your reaction?
I had gotten a little warning from Alan Ball. We were heading to catering one day. We were doing episode 6. And he said, we just got the first draft of episode 9. He goes, you are going to freak. And I said, what is it? He goes, I'm not telling you. I can't tell you. And the writer, Alex Wu, episode 9, who's a great guy and crazy, kept giving me these little hints. So when I finally got the script, of course, I tore through it at home and read it at night. And I was only in the scene at the beginning. I was like, no, what? I'm not in this episode. This is terrible. Where am I? Very, very selfish, typical actor. And I get to the very end. I see this massive block of text, and I kind of went, oh, no. I read the whole thing through, and I dropped it on the floor, and I said, shut up.
I can imagine.
That was a lot of dialogue for that particular episode.
Mm. You know what's great about that is I'm a theater actor, first and foremost. My training was in what I did. And Alex Wu, the writer, is a playwright. So he wrote a play, a little mini monologue, a playwright would. And as a theater actor, I kind of knew how I wanted to craft it. And it was really a brilliant episode, a brilliant monologue, really, really great stuff. I felt privileged to be able to play it.
And not only did you have that monologue, but you also, your character gets to grieve over the loss of his lover, played by Theo Alexander, and there was a lot of blood and guts, though. And were you apprehensive about, kind of swimming in this sea of whatever the hell it was?
No. I'm way into the technical stuff, and I love the props, and I love the gore, because it all helps sell the things happening. And for me, as an actor, the viscera feels real. The blood feels real. So doing it is helpful from an acting point of view. It ramps the stakes up, and it makes him I get to experience what he's experiencing. So I love that stuff. I'm totally down with all that stuff. I love all the makeup. All that stuff is great.
Well, speaking of theatrical work, you won a Tony Award in '03 for Take Me Out. Take us back to that night and what that experience was like for you.
It's pretty crazy. I remember the lead up to the Tonys is a lot of luncheons, a lot of meetings, a lot of press, and a lot of speculation. And early on, I became like a front runner. So it was like being the guy at the Olympics who everyone says it's his to lose. You start to kind of panic and clutch, and you think, if I lose this, I'm the biggest loser in the world now because everybody said I was going to win it. If I don't win it, I've lost doubly. I've fumbled the prize. So to top it all off, my mother and father were celebrating their 50th anniversary and decided to come to New York for that weekend to have it be an all-in-one celebration. So if I lost, I would be casting this pall on this huge celebration. 13 members of my family showed up. And I was nominated against the guy I do the play with, so I felt kind of weird about that. Having said that, it was a great experience. I loved it. My boyfriend Hugo was in the audience, and it was great to be able to have him there. And the camera whipped over, and got to see him. I was very happy about that. It was it's a lovely night. It's a lovely thing. Mm. You don't do your work to get awards. That's not why you do it. But when they come along, it's nice. It's encouragement. It feels like gratification. It feels like you're kind of on the right path or something.
Then you were nominated again for Assassins a couple of years later. Very different role. What was that like? Were you then expecting, can I go for the 2? Or was it less pressure for you that time?
I'm not a greedy guy, and so my feeling was sort of like, in a strange way, I didn't think I was going to win. I hope I don't win. Because it's kind of a turn-off. You feel like you should share things. So I was chuffed, as they say, to have a castmate of mine win. And Michael Cerveris was fantastic in the show. And I was very happy to see him win. I was happy to be nominated. It really was. It was really pretty thrilling. I loved that show. I loved Assassins. We all loved each other as a cast. So there was a little bit of rivalry, but it was all good.
Well, with Broadway actors especially, I mean, you're all within a few blocks of each other for months at a time, and I'm sure a brotherhood and sisterhood kind of develops. So on a Tony Awards night, is it like a big family reunion?
You spend a lot of time with each other in the lead up to the Tonys, so you're doing these luncheons together, and it's really fun. You get to know people you wouldn't have gotten to know otherwise. I remember Eddie Izzard was nominated the year I was nominated, and just getting a chance to be next to Eddie Izzard and chat with him. Margot Martindale was nominated one year. Got to kind of rub shoulders with her and chat with her. And Marissa Jericho winner for Hairspray was around one year. And you feel like you're suddenly in this club. I remember I met Alfred Molina at one of the ceremonies, and we actually became friends, struck up a friendship with him. So it is sort of like a small club. But Broadway is like that. You are within 6 blocks of each other. You're all at the same deli. You're all fighting the tourists, trying to get through Times Square the same way. You all go to the same gym, How's it going? It's all right. So it's a weird club.
And what's really remarkable about theatre actors is you all end up doing a few stints on TV, and you play a judge on The Good Wife as well as playing the King of Mississippi on True Blood, and that must be a really interesting experience working with some of those actors on The Good Wife who are all theatre trained actors as well. What was that like?
It's great. Josh Charles is a wonderful actor. Christine Borowski's deep theater experience. She's fantastic and funny. And Archie Panjabi, I had actually done a movie with called A Mighty Heart in India. So I had met her in a movie and loved her. And Juliana Margulies, I love. She's fantastic. I did a play with her in 2001 called 10 Unknowns with Donald Sutherland and Robbie Bates' play. And so it was great to get to work with her in a different venue. It's also great to work with Michael J. Fox, who is a legend, a real inspiration, I think a really brave man, and a great actor. And the characters are so different. I get to play somebody who is, toothless, to make a pun, who is a good intentioned person, who's sort of non-intentionally funny, as opposed to Russell, who is just a powerful man, powerful figure. And I wouldn't call him evil, but I wouldn't call him toothless.
No.
Well, it seems like right after you won that Tony, you've been working a long time, but suddenly all these film scripts, TV scripts start coming your way, and you've been in movies since then, like Changeling and Milk, and Michael Clayton and Duplicity, and The Proposal, and just a lot of them. Has there been a favorite movie so far that you've done?
I really love working with Tony Gilroy. Tony did Michael Clayton and Duplicity. I also really love working with Gus Van Sant, who did Milk. He's a legend, and Dustin Black, who wrote the screenplay, is great. Sean Penn, I've done 3 movies with him. I really find him to be a great person to work with. And working with Clint Eastwood is one of the highlights of my life. He's a legend, a great actor, a great man, a great director. I just did Hoover, which is his next film. I only worked a couple of days, but just great to be back with him. However, my all-time favorite movie to work on was Mighty Heart, the movie I did with Michael Winterbottom, the director, and Angelina Jolie. She played the lead in that with Archie Panjabi, just because it was such an intense working experience, and we shot in India, and it was a great personal experience and a great working experience, really challenging material. I loved it.
You don't get many takes with Clint Eastwood, do you?
You get 2. You get the master, which usually shoots the rehearsal, and then you get a close-up and he goes, "We're good, right?" And what are you going to say? No? You kind of go, yeah, we're good. Sure.
Yeah, no worries, Clint. No worries. Well, True Blood's starting up very soon, and there's a lot of anticipation for it for the next season. Are you looking forward to that in particular? Is anything that we can look out for the King?
I'm a big fan of the show. I always was before I got it. I tell the story that, I found out I was in Budapest shooting a movie called The Eagle, and I got a call from my agent offering me the part, completely out of the blue. And I called my boyfriend first thing, and I said, "I'm going to make you very, very, very happy. What's your favorite show?" He's like, "True Blood." And I said, "What would you think if I was on that show?" He was like, he freaked out. Wow. So it was, I love the show. I've actually been in touch with a lot of the people in the show. I was just in L.A., so I got to see Stephen Moyer and Kristen Bauer and talk to them about the show. And I know a lot of what's coming up because they've told me. Russell is not dead, but you're going to have to wait a while to see him.
Okay, that's good to know. So in the meantime, have you started shooting the American Horror Story, this new show for FX?
We shot the pilot for American Horror Story for FX. We finished shooting it last week. I was just out there, and we don't know if it's picked up or not. We're still waiting for that. And if it is picked up, the good thing is that I can still do True Blood because they don't interfere with each other.
Oh, good.
It's a really interesting pilot. It's different for me because I'm in on the ground floor and I get to be there at the very creation of it, the very beginning of it. And Ryan Murphy is a very creative person, funny guy, great guy. And we have this kick-ass cast. We have Connie Britton, we have Dylan McDermott, Franny Conroy, who I love, and Jessica Lange, who is a legend. And it feels like a really, really good project. It's pretty sick. It's pretty adult.
Great.
It's pretty out there. It's very adult. I read the script kind of like, wow, really? All right.
You mentioned the cast of the new show. Why don't you get some talented people to work with on that show?
What's wrong with you?
Scraping the bottom of the barrel. It's
totally.
I'll tell you what. How many awards are on the shelves of all of those people?
Yeah.
Quite a few. It's just quite a few. And of course, as always, people like that, they're good because they take their work seriously. They don't show up and treat it like a lark. They show up and they invest. They work hard. It's really fantastic.
That's a lot of more stage people, theater people. You're working with again.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well,
yeah, Franny Conroy did 6 Feet Under.
Yeah.
So we have the Apple Ball connection.
Wow, that looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. Hopefully it gets picked up. But in the meantime, we've got the Emmys coming up soon, and most people are thinking if you were to be nominated, episode 9 would probably be your best shot. But you are also in a lot of episode 11. The only problem is you've got all this crusty makeup all over you, then you're barely recognisable. How long did it take to get that on?
Wow, that was about 3.5 hours getting in, and about an hour getting out. And makeup like that's a challenge, but the thing I like about it is that it reflects what the character is going through. So if it's difficult, if it's painful, if it's an obstacle, that's the same thing the character is going through. So you get to act less. Yeah. You don't have to act as hard when you're actually having a real thing happen to you. The makeup people are great to hang out with, good conversationalists, so they try to make me as comfortable as possible.
Well, Dennis, you got a lot of things going on, and a lot of fans out there. So I know they're pulling for you on an Emmy nomination this summer, and we thank you for your time today.